Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be building a very small home that I had in mind for maybe just some mysterious sim that lives next door that doesn't really leave his house but only to fish. So there's a lot of fisherman type accents to it, and it turned out really nice. I thought I really liked it. So we're doing the exterior right now. I'm building this one in Willow Creek. Just because I'm trying to build the worlds, I'm making a save file, so this was the next lot that I decided to do. So now I'm playing around with some layout. I do a lot of back and forth on this one because I just could not decide how to do this layout. But it turned out really nice. So a little bit of context here. I built a house that's kind of next door that's a tiny home, and that one's going to be someone that, you can use for the save file. So this is just going to be the mysterious guy next door. I didn't have any sort of goal going into this. I didn't even use a floor plan or a layout. I kind of just winged it a little bit. But it did come out pretty good. So, and I tried to use as little packs as possible again. That one, it's very difficult for me because I get pack happy. I really like using a lot of things. But I know a lot of people don't have that many packs, so it makes it a little difficult for that. But so I did make it a little bit more pack limited. And I think I limited it to mainly base game, eco lifestyle. I'll list them below in the description if you'd like, but yeah. So here we go. We're working on some more structure. Here's some stairs in the back. The backyard ended up looking really cool in my opinion, because it was kind of just like a little hangout for a single dude that is very mysterious and is active and a fisherman, but yet doesn't really want to see people. So that's why I put up this really, really tall fence, and it just adds a little bit more privacy. It's a very simple house. I can't call it a starter home because it's worth a little bit more, but it's not worth that much more. It's a fairly cheap house, so a lot of Sims should be okay to afford that. I do use the tool mod a lot, as you can see. I'm a big fan of the scaling. I use the rotating sometimes, but the scaling and the elevating is what I mainly do, and the alt movement. But it's kind of a must-have if you do a lot of building. The landscaping in this one's very simple, just some trees. I kept it simple just because I feel like Willow Creek in general is simple, and in this neighborhood, it kind of just always is simple. And I played around with the layout of this backyard quite a bit, but I ended up coming up with something that just felt very, I don't know, just single dude-like, that could just hang out there. Anyone would really like it, but it just, I don't know. It worked out. And then I had some spilling out. And then I make this little garden area over under the tree, which is very simple. And a little punching bag out in the back. But that way he's got a little, and then he has a fishing spot right behind him. So that way he can just, wander out there secretly and go do his fishing for the day. And then this little garden area is super cute. I like how that turned out. I'm doing some terrain paint, and that should be about the end of the exterior at least. So after that, we should be good to go on to the inside. But terrain paint's very important when it comes to making houses look more realistic, or just to have that extra little bit of detail that you want. But it can be tricky to learn at first, terrain paint or terrain manipulation at all. But it is worth it. It is highly worth it. I highly suggest, if you don't know how to do it, maybe looking up some tutorial videos. Over here in this corner, I'm making it like a fishing corner, so that when he's ready to go fishing, all he has to do is just grab his stuff and then go. So I just made it look like it's a little fishing corner, and Or like when he's done fishing, he can come back and throw the fish in the cooler. And I picked the cooler that's on wheels so that he can wheel it down with him if he wants. Now that's not actually functional, but that's just where my mindset was. And then a little fish tank would be cute because, maybe there's one that he needed to keep alive before eating or something. Or one that he just ended up falling in love with for some reason. He could put that in there. And see, the rakes are one big instance where I use Toolmon for rotating, just because I like making him stand up against the wall, like rakes or brooms or shovels, like that kind of thing. I tend to do that a lot with. And now the backyard is pretty much finished. I think there's only a few things that I add more. But it is basically done now. So now we're going on the inside. It's almost safe to say that every single one of my builds is going to use Eco Lifestyle, just because I really, really like the wood flooring from Eco Lifestyle. I feel like it has the potential to look, kind of old and country, or maybe new and modern, depending on the color. Like, it looks so good no matter what you do with it. And it's got so many good swatches on it. So it's definitely one of my favorites. That one and the vampire one. I really like the vampire diagonal one too. That one's really nice. Sometimes it's too shiny though. So the shininess sometimes doesn't work out with some builds. At least with the style. So we're working on the kitchen now. And I toyed a lot with the interior. Like this whole section with the dining and living and kitchen. I could not decide how I wanted it to go, but I ended up doing the kitchen over here in this corner that, was obviously the perfect spot for it. But, he doesn't need a lot because he's just some guy that doesn't really leave. He's mysterious. So, he's got the essentials. Of course, you have to add in a coffee machine. Every sim needs some coffee. And I liked the addition of like the slightly blue counters. I thought that really added just enough color to make it not look so boring and yellow beigey color and brown. It just made it pop. So I was a big fan of that. And one thing I started doing more recently is utilizing the favorite item option, because, there's items that I use pretty much in every single build, like a specific clutter item or whatever, just because I love them so much. So, and when you're on your computer, if you press the scrolly button on your mouse, when you're hovering over an item to buy, it'll select it as one of your favorites. And then there is a drop down menu, where you see the surfaces, plumbing, etc. There's a section for favorites, and that's where they show up. So I started really using that a lot more, because I've just had so many things grow to be my go-to for using. So I have been using that a lot. And if you did not know that was there, then I highly suggest trying it. So now we're just finishing up cluttering the kitchen, coming along nicely. And here we have our little entryway, so we're doing some doors. And I end up changing that front door because it just didn't match the vibe. Plus, I liked these other interior doors, so that other door just matched better. Now we're just working out a little bit of layout stuff. Using ultimately the furniture that I want to use, but not really doing a whole lot of decorating in between it. I'm just figuring out the layout here. Sometimes to figure out the layout, I'll just use the first item that I see and the size that I want. That way I can just at least get some sort of layout going. But with a house this small, I might as well just find whatever actual furniture I'm going to use, because it's a very, very simple style that I'm going for, and it's so small. I might as well just find it real quick. And then I go in, and I decided he needed a computer. There's not room for an office. I don't know, maybe he does freelancing work or something. That's how he makes money without leaving the house, because he's that introverted. So, there's a little workstation at the table. It's just him, so it's not like he needs all that seating anyway. Now, this TV area, I do end up changing it because I thought of something better for the TV stand. I put in these bookshelves from Book Nook Kit, and it adds activity to the build, so that's always great. And I also like how it looks. The brown fits well, and it's nice and low-lying, so it just works out nice. But it's also another activity builder for you. The guitar, I don't know, I feel like the guitar always adds to the mysteriousness. And maybe he likes to drink a little bit, have his little evening drink while sitting and watching TV and not talking to anyone. And I added these little walls here just because I thought that might add some more dimension to this really, really open, like it's still an open floor plan, but I feel like adding these little walls just make it have more dimension to it. And see, this is something that I tend to forget a lot, is these painting the ceilings. That's really difficult for me to remember sometimes. But see, even when I do forget, that's okay, because if you look up wherever you are right now, your ceiling is probably white. Like most ceilings are just plain white. Whether it's like the white little tiles with the asbestos or like popcorn ceilings, it's probably going to be white. It's not, I don't feel like it's super common, at least where I'm where I'm from in Florida, they're all white. So I don't normally feel bad if I forget to paint it, just because it's, it is what it is. It's actually kind of normal for it to not be painted. But, I don't know. I feel like it also makes the house look nice afterwards. Like if you're going into the different view modes and like looking down into the house, I feel like it just makes it look so much better if it's painted. But I don't know. Sometimes I forget. That's okay though. And we're working on the bathroom now. This bathroom, I think it ended up pretty cool. I really like these wall tiles from Jungle Adventure. I think that they are just so cool, and there's so many different colors, so they're very versatile, and you can use them with almost anything. They always look good either in a bathroom, or sometimes I even use it as a backsplash, like in a kitchen. But I don't know, like depending on what vibe you want to give off, every color kind of does that. So I really like those. And this linoleum flooring is very, very basic, but in a good way. So I tend to use that sometimes, not all the time, but especially like with this color of tile, I feel like that little more off-white color just fit better. Because otherwise there's not a whole lot of off-white tile options that are just like the standard squares. And this entryway ended up looking so cute, very simple, but yet just very like welcoming, like welcome home. We got a little chair here, and the shelves next to it. I really liked that. Adding some fish stuff because Fisherman. So we've got some like just fish mounted on the wall. Somewhere I put one of those display cases for the lures. I struggled a lot with the rugs in this entryway, by the way. I did not know how to do that because nothing looked right and I couldn't decide. So I ended up doing this little layered, 2-circle rug option because I thought that ended up looking kind of okay. And I like these like build your own runners that they have. I don't remember what this one is from. It's either vampires or maybe vintage. I don't know. But now we're on to the bedroom. And this one, we kind of went with a similar vibe, but more of like a reddish accent. Like maybe he likes the color red. And it's very simple. There's not a whole lot to do in here. I don't even think there's any activity or skill building activities except for a mirror maybe. But it very simple because, a guy like this, they come into this room to sleep, do nothing else, just sleep. And then eventually they just go out and do what they got to do in the other parts of the house. Especially when you live alone, that's perfectly normal to want to hang out other places in your house. Now we're just cluttering up this dresser a little bit, adding a plant, some book stuff, and then just general clutter from the everyday clutter kit that I like the water bottle and the hat, and I do also like the little notepad and pencil and the phone and car keys. That's always fun. Also, I feel like it makes it look a lot more realistic when it has something like that, just because it just makes more sense, So, we're almost done over here with this cluttering. And I believe after this, there's only a few things to go on the nightstands, and then we're just about done. So, yeah, without further ado, I think that means that it's time for the tour. Enjoy! So thank you so much for staying and watching this video. This build is available on the gallery. My EA ID is Plumbdagger. And thank you so much for watching and staying. Go ahead and like this video if you liked it. Maybe subscribe so you can keep in the know for the next builds. I've got some really cool builds coming up here. And maybe make a comment what your favorite part of the build was, just the coolest part in your opinion, or maybe something that you would have done differently. And I'll see you guys next time. Dag dag!